Orally transmitted teachings, Ongi Kuden, in Japanese on Buddhism Lesson 5 The Lotus Sutra The Second Hermeneutical Model Part 1, The Provisional or Non-Essential Teachings, Shakuman, in Japanese The Assembly of the Vulture and the Eagle Peak Chapter 1. Introduction, Jo, in Japanese it was the Troops Review. In a large metaphorical fresco set in the universe, the Buddha gathers around him the four kinds of believers, Buddhist deities and non-human beings, 80,000. After this Troops Review, the Tathagata will reveal the truth. Chapter 2, Opportune Means, Hoben or Cunning of Buddhist Reason, Hoben, in Japanese the Buddha reveals, at last, the unequal truth. This truth is that the wisdom of the Buddhas is immeasurable and can only be understood and shared by the Buddhas, and that all living beings can attain Buddhahood, and that, ultimately, Saha is the land of the Buddhas. The Buddhas live in this Saha land. Chapter 3, Prophecies and Analogies, Who, in Japanese the Buddha predicted the attainment of Buddhahood to Shariputra. Shakyamuni explains that he teaches according to people's ability. The Tathagata teaches us that there are no longer three vehicles but only one vehicle. This supreme vehicle is the Lotus Sutra. Chapter 4, Faith and Understanding, Shindje, in Japanese Mahoka Shyapa and three other elderly disciples danced at the announcement of Shariputra's, Sharahatsu, attainment of Buddhahood in the future. Using the parable of the rich man and his poor and long-distanced child, the Buddha lets us know that, like a master, he leads his disciples to a higher education. Like a sovereign, he protects them. Like a parent, he provides for their subsistence. Chapter 5, The Parable of the Medicinal Herbs, Yakusogu, in Japanese resorting to the parable of medicinal herbs, the Tathagata teaches us that his disciples enjoy the benefits of his Dharma, regardless of their ability, their personality. However, each of them benefits from it, according to his needs and faculties. Chapter 6, The Prophecy of Enlightenment delivered to four disciples, Jukyô, in Japanese the Buddha predicted the attainment of Buddhahood in the future for four of his 10 major disciples. They are, Mahoka Shyapa, Subhuti, Mahokatyayana, Moggalluyana. Chapter 7, The Parable of the Illusory City and Djamanantigui, Kejoyu, in Japanese the Tathagata Shakyamuni reveals that he attained Buddhahood during a distant time called Sanzen Shintengo through his faith and practice of the Lotus Sutra, when he was the 16th and last son of King Mabishinana or Nanan, king or chief, in Ba, an Ivorian national language, and that his name was Baekasian, the youngest, in Ba. After becoming a Buddha, he began to teach the Lotus Sutra. Having recourse to the parable of the illusory city, the Buddha, here called Djamanantigui, guide, in the Ivorian national language called Malinke proclaims the superiority of the Lotus Sutra over all the previous teachings and teaches us that the attainment of Buddhahood is similar to an obstacle course. Chapter 8, The Prophecy of Enlightenment for Purna and 500 disciples, Goyakudsho. In Japanese the Buddha foretold the attainment of future Buddhahood for Purna and 500 other disciples. The Tathagata Shakyamuni, through the parable of the jewel sewn into the lining of the garment, disqualifies the state of arhat as partial wisdom and promotes a search for true, total wisdom, which is possible only through the Lotus Sutra. Chapter 9, Prophecies to Monks and Confirmed Disciples, Ninko, in Japanese Ananda and Rahula and 2,000 of the disciples, both monks and laymen, receive, as a result of their request, a prophecy to attain Buddhahood through the Buddha. Chapter 10, The Master of the Law, Hoshi, in Japanese the Buddha, as the Master of the Law, expounds the benefits and merits of the Lotus Sutra. The Tathagata praises the practitioners of the Lotus Sutra in the very troubled era of Mappo. The Tathagata predicts the attainment of Buddhahood to all who read, recite, and expound even one verse of the Lotus Sutra. The Ceremony in the Air Chapter 11, The Appearance of the Treasure Tower, Kenhodo, in Japanese as the Buddha Shakyamuni preached a magnificent tower adorned with the 7 treasures, gold, silver, lapis lazuli, mother-of-pearl, agate, pearl and carnelian, emerged from the earth and remained suspended halfway up in the air. The Buddha Tao, many treasures, in English, Prabhudaratna in Sanskrit, the owner and master of this tower appears. The Tathagata Tao certifies the truthfulness of Shakyamuni's Dharma. Afterwards, he invites Shakyamuni to take a seat next to him, and the air ceremony begins. The Buddha, comforted not only by the certification of the authenticity of his teaching by the Buddha Tao, but also by the mark of esteem shown towards him by the Tathagata from the land of purities. From then on, Kosen Rufu's universal movement was officially launched. Chapter 12, Princess Ozawa and Devadatta. In Japanese, the Buddha recounts that in many of his previous lives, he was a king called Suzuden or Masa, king or chief, among the Malinke people, a disparate Ivorian ethnic community from West Africa, who was in the service of a sage named Ajita or Che Karoba, Old Sage. In Malinke, an Ivorian national language, is none other than Devadatta, also called Baofe, malevolent sorcerer, and Bae, both an Ivorian language and ethnicity, who taught in the Lotus Sutra. In return for being a good friend to him, Devadatta will achieve, after having passed through the Avicii hell, Buddhahood under the name of the celestial sovereign, Tenno, in Japanese. Through the teachings of Manja Shiri, Princess Ozawa, daughter of the Dragon King or the Basagnan Sagra, attained Buddhahood. Faced with the incredulity of the assembly born of the belief in the 5 obstacles and 3 obediences that prevented women from becoming Buddhas, in the anti-Lotusic teachings, the Buddha had to certify this attainment of Buddhahood by a woman. Thus, from now on, women could become Buddhas. For all intents and purposes, Ozawa and Basagnan are Bede names. Bede is both an Ivorian language and ethnic group. Ozawa is a feminine given name that comes from Ozawa, referring to one who is above all. Therefore, Ozawa is the fighting woman, the woman who has broken the glass ceiling, the woman who drops all masks. Basagnan, on the other hand, refers originally to the man who removes, puts an end to the war. Therefore, if he ends the war, it is to give peace. This explains why the Basagnan is a man of peace, an advocate of good governance. Chapter 13. Exhortation to Perseverance, Kanji. In Japanese, when a Buddha call for applications in Chapter 11 above, the Buddha's disciples answer in the affirmative. His disciples reassured him that in the very troubled era of Mappo, they would propagate Buddhist law, and that despite the difficulties they encountered, insults, curses, attacks with sticks, swords, their faith in the Lotus Sutra would remain firm even though they were banished, and banished again. Chapter 14. Peaceful Practices Anrakujo. In Japanese, the Buddha sets forth the 4 methods or practices that the followers of the Tathagata should observe. These 4 practices are peaceful words, peaceful deeds, peaceful thoughts, peaceful vows. The Tathagata, through the parable of the jewel hidden in the headdress, reveals that he has professed many teachings for the purpose of preparing his disciples for the understanding of the true Dharma, which he finally expounds. After ingesting this educational capsule, it will be possible for you to deepen your knowledge on this theme by referring to my sutras or writings of a Buddha, in Sanskrit, where it is developed at length. These sutras are available, in French, the original version, in American English and in German in paperback and Kindle books on all Amazon sales sites. Regarding the Amazon KDP links to my sutras, please refer to my TikTok or Facebook profiles or even to Lesson 11 of my teachings. All my videos are compiled on my 3 YouTube channels, Kosen Rufu TV, English Kosen Rufu TV and Kosen Rufu Well. For the links to these channels, see my bio or type the title of the channel of your choice in the Google search bar.